Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter with Ask a Crafter 11! Woo! Yay! And this is going to be the best show ever because I have a producer, question reader, Lorraine. Say hello, Lorraine.
Hi.
She won't be on camera though, but you just saw her hand there, so that was kind of cool. Maybe she will next week if we're lucky. Alright, so I want to start off with some comments from the last video, and one comment is to slow down and stop talking so fast. And look at my coffee cup. I don't know if that's going to happen because this is the third one of these I've had today, so I'll try my best. But we had a lady looking for ATG gun refills, and I got so many comments on this because I don't have one of these, so I don't know where to shop for them. I'm gonna put the links under the video, and I'm also gonna put the words on the screen, so because that was another suggestion, that I put the products that I mentioned, their names up so that you can read them, because you know, with my accent it can be hard to figure out what the heck I'm trying to say. So tapedepot.com or thetapedepot.com, both were mentioned a couple times. I'm sure it's the same place, but whether or not you need a the, I'm not sure. Findtape.com, framingsupplies.com, Pack and Tape, PACK-N-TAPE, and also there was a Facebook page, and it was called Scrapping with ME Boutique. It's on Facebook. You could do a search for that, and if I can find it, I'll put a link. I have not purchased anything from any of these companies, just so you know. I'm not vouching for them, but that's what my lovely viewers have said, so I trust them. Yeah, so I'll put links to those companies. And about the gel medium transfer, I completely botched last week. Here's how to do it right. I had two people tell me how to do it right. Crafty Violet, you can find her at craftyviolet.blogspot.ca, and Pam Little Dot all had great advice, and it was the same advice. And they said what you want to do is, you know, you base coat your canvas or whatever you want to transfer it onto, then put a nice coat of gel medium or Mod Podge. Then you want to put your paper down and you want to burnish over the back of it with like an old credit card or something that will really press it in there good. Let it dry completely, then spray it with water and rub off the paper, and your image will be transferred and sealed into the wood or canvas or whatever you're doing. If you're working on a stretched canvas, you might want to put a book in behind the canvas so you can have something to firm to rub against. So thank you, ladies, for that great advice. And also on the topic of art journals, I got a couple other recommendations. I recommended a watercolor journal because the pages would be really sturdy and thick. The Diane Reevely journal by Ranger, they said it's cheap and good. And also the Strathmore visual journals are also very good. So thank you, ladies, for those comments as well. All right, so Lorraine is going to read the questions, so you don't have to look at the top of my head, although I have done my roots since last week, so that would be a much nicer experience. But she's going to read the questions so I can just answer them. Whoo, smooth! All right, Martha Stewart, watch out. What's our first question?
Paula says, "Hey, Lindsay, I love Ask a Crafter. It's informative and you're so delightful. For next week, can you shed some light on acrylic gel medium? What do you use it for? I'm looking for something besides Mod Podge to seal collage items onto pages. I want to keep those pesky corners of papers and stuff secure. Thank you."
Gel medium will do the trick. Now, there's different types of gel medium. You've got the thinner stuff, kind of like your Mod Podge. You can also get thicker gel, which you can mix with paint to do, like if you could use it instead of stencil paste, if you wanted to do, like, scrape it over a stencil in your journal and have raised areas. They also make different mediums that have granulation in them, so you can kind of have that texture of sand. You can mix sand or pumice into your gel medium to add texture to an art journal page or a canvas. It's great for collage. It's basically a high quality clear glue, and anything that you want to adhere to something else, you can mix it with like watercolors and make it like a translucent permanent paint. It seals things, it makes things permanent, it almost turns things into a paintable plastic that will dry and then become permanent. So use it to glue things, use it to embed things in. You can mix it with some beads or some glitter. Micro beads would be great. Sand. You could use it to adhere fabric. You can coat fabric with it and add that to your journal page for extra texture and interest. It's just like a really fabulous glue. So I hope that gave you some ideas. Mix it with your acrylic paint for textural effects. It'll also extend your paint and make it more transparent without watering it down. It extends it, makes it more transparent, but it doesn't make it flat like if you were just to add water to it. So experiment with it with the materials you already have, and I'm sure you'll come up with some great ways to use it.
Beth Ross says, "Hi Lindsay, I had this question but it didn't sound like a question. It's about blow pens. After doing a search, there are several kinds. I've seen a young girl doing a video of taking the top off a Crayola marker and blowing through it, which creates something like the blow pens. The idea in question is how to create an airbrush look without the expense of an air compressor."
Okay, well great, now that I know what you're talking about. I'm sorry about that. Last week I'm so glad Lorraine volunteered, because I was looking at questions, coming up with answers on the fly. It wasn't a good scene. I might just delete those videos. I don't know, probably not. But okay, so there are a lot of alternatives to using an airbrush to get the airbrush look in your art. My favorite is the Blendy pens, and they come with a little atomizer. You can get a set with like 16 pens at AC Moore for, I think it's probably about 25 bucks, but you can use a coupon. And what you do is you put your marker in here, and then you squeeze on. Let me just grab the stencil here. My show prep here. Oh, I just dropped some tape on my dog. And then you squeeze it. I probably should have used a darker color, but there you can see you get kind of a little bit of a stencil-y. Oh, that's in the shadow. Well, we'll do that with a darker color. That'll be better. Do it with this red. I should have picked up this one. But basically, it works like a blow pen. It will work a little bit better if I do it down on holding the paper down. Alright, so take off my stencil, and we got that design. The only thing I don't like about this is, but you know, they're pretty inexpensive because it's a kid's product, is that you have to have these markers because it has a little hexagon type barrel that not everything's going to fit in. So I was at a Stampin' Up! Party, and I found this little guy here. This is awesome. It's a Stampin Spritzer, and it will take any size marker pretty much, and it's got a little nut here that you can adjust, and you can pull out this inner sleeve. Woo! My gosh, my dog is going to be wearing everything in here today. She just had a bath. I'm surprised she's not hiding from me. But I could put a big marker in there, or I could put this adapter in so I can use my distress markers, Tombow, Whispers, La Plume, anything like that, and it works the exact same way. Now, blow pens is actually a trademark name. These are blow pens, and you can get an atomizer for that too, so you don't have to actually blow into them. But the way these markers work is that you would put them in here, and then you blow, you put it back together, you blow through that, and the marker comes out there and it sprays. You'll get a little lightheaded after you do a little bit of that, but they all work. So, you know, look around what you have. If you already have a good selection of markers, I would recommend get one of these, and you can use whatever markers you have. You can even use Crayola markers with it, and watercolor pens. So I would recommend that because it's just can be used with everything. But these the little blendy pen kits are pretty nice if you don't have any markers yet, and they're actually kind of nice for coloring. I want to show you this because a lot of times kids' art supplies don't get the credit they deserve. But if I twist these together, this is what is the whole deal about blendy pens: is that you twist these together and then the tips touch in the barrel, and then you can take the marker out. I don't know which side will blend better. And then if I'm just using typing paper here. And then when I color, well, that's not a very good example. Let's try this one. Well, the colors blend together. Of course, not when I'm doing a video, because that would just be too awesome. Let's see if I can get those to, I gotta let them transfer for a minute, I guess. I thought this video was gonna be so much more fast-paced and riveting when I had Lorraine join me, but, oh, well, anyway, they're supposed to blend. This is a new set I haven't played with yet. But anyways, they're fun to color with, and I recommend the product. And if you don't like it, you can always give it to your kids or grandkids because they will enjoy it. All right, so yeah. Oh, the other thing I wanted to show you, this is a mouth atomizer, and you can mix up any sort of little pot of ink or liquid watercolor. I tend to use it with my liquid watercolor. And you stick the end, the straw end, into the paint. You can use thinned acrylic paint. Just make sure whatever you use does not contain lead, cadmium, cobalt, or any other carcinogenic pigments. Artist quality paints often have those pigments, so make sure that your paint is like children's paint. And then you blow through this, and that will suck up the paint, and it will send it out that nozzle there. So this is just a mouth atomizer. It's a couple bucks at your art supply store. So I think that is. What do you think? Is
that sounds good?
Comprehensive. Comprehensive. Blue pens. All right, what's next?
Okay, Leo Diamond says, I can't find the video where you gave us your recipe for the stamp cleaner. Could you please tell us again? I know you made one with glycerin, but also talk about using simple green. Thanks for bringing back a crafter. Ask a crafter.
You're welcome. Woo! Okay, let me show you. This is simple green here. I use this when I'm cleaning my rubber stamps. This is a diluted version because as it worked its way down, I just filled it up with water because I use it all the time, so it's handy to have the big bottle. You find this at the automotive section of Walmart, probably at the hardware store too. It's about $3.50, a big jug like this, and you dilute it 10 parts water to 1 part simple green for a perfect stamp cleaner for rubber stamps. The Simple Green company actually told me not to use it with clear stamps. I don't know why, but it might break down the photopolymer and like the more expensive ones. So for my clear stamps, I use a mixture of 1 tablespoon of baby shampoo to 6 ounces of water in a spray bottle. I was adding glycerin to that mix until I read the label on my baby shampoo and realized it already contained glycerin. So baby shampoo plus water. I don't think you can really mess it up. You know, if it's too thick that it won't spray, add more water. All right, what's next?
Michelle Holland says, do you know where to get some empty ink pads?
I believe Stampin' Up! Sells empty ink pads. They're the regular felt ones, and they also sell the empty roller ones if you use a rollograph wheel. Oh, and Ranger makes cut and dry foam and cut and dry felt, and those are like 9 by 12 sheets that are designed to be cut up into rectangles and used for custom stamp pads. And also, Diane Reevely through the Ranger line has a large, big, juicy blank stamp pad that's designed to be used with her spray inks, but I'm sure you can use them with whatever inks you have.
Beth R. asks, could you please talk about embossing paste and frugal alternatives? Love your stuff.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I use caulking, like caulking from the hardware store. You can get it in the squeeze tube or in a big gun. I get the squeeze tube, it's like 99 cents, and sometimes they have it at the dollar store. You want to look for latex paintable white caulking, or you can get black if you don't want to tint it, and it works just as well as pre-made embossing paste, and it's flexible. So I know some people like to use joint compound or spackle, but that will flake off. That's designed to be on a hard, flat surface, like a drywall. So if you had it on a card or a journal page and you bent it, it will flake off a bit. Unless you mixed it with some glue or something. But just the plain cheap white latex paintable caulking is great for stencil paste. Or you can use your gel medium. If you have thick gel medium, you can tint that and use that as well. Was there another part to that question?
Yes. Well, she asked about die cutting. When you have a piece rounded, a rounded edge.
Oh yeah, okay.
And you raise it, one side is rounded and one side is raised, and when you turn it over the branch with the leaves on it, it shows that it flips over. You want to have it look so that it's a normal die cut on both sides.
Yeah. So when you're pressure die cutting, like with a big shot or Cuttlebug, one side of your paper will be rounded over, the front side, and that's generally the right side. If you flip it over, not that anybody would notice this that wasn't a crafter, you'll have just a slight ridge around the edge. And I did want to make a comment that. Somebody did make a comment.
Becky Brooks offered a comment.
Yes, Becky Brooks offered a comment, and she said the exact same thing that I was going to say. Use take a mouse pad or a foam pad, lay your die cut with the ridge side up. Use a rounded tool, kind of like this, or an embossing stylus or a bone folder. Something rounded will work a little better, and just trace around the edge to round that over the other way. And no one will know that you just used it backwards. That'll do the trick.
That sounds good. Jonah Schaefer says, I love your YouTube channel and your blog. My question is, how do you find the time to update your blog every day and make so many YouTube videos?
Well, clearly she hasn't seen my videos because it's clear that I don't spend a lot of time on them. But basically just, I try to streamline things. So I turn on the camera when I'm making something. A lot of times that's what my videos are. I try to plan things out. So if I'm, sitting at the table, helping the kids with homework, my brain wanders, and I think, I want to do this video tomorrow, and I'll make a list, and then I just kind of check them off as I go. I am able to do crafty stuff for a living, thank goodness, so when my kids go to school, I from 8 until 3 to get, my general, housework done, but also any of my crafty stuff that I want to do. So basically, it's just staying on task and not getting sidetracked by the computer or television or that much. I don't get sidetracked by housework too much. I kind of do the mad dash at 4 p.m. before my husband gets home. But that's pretty much it. Make a list, stick to it, use those little 5-minute scraps of time. When my kids were home before they started school, if I had 10 minutes while they were watching a TV show, or half an hour while they were all napping at the same time, I would just rush into my craft area and just start working and do as much as I could. And then when they woke up, I'd shut the door so they weren't going to get in and cut themselves or get into anything, and just leave it until I had a chance to get to it again. So make use of those little bits of time. If you're sitting down to watch TV at night, grab some knitting, grab some things that need to be cut out. Just try to multitask as much as you can, because I think you really have a much richer life if you do the things you really want to do, instead of just thinking about, well, I don't have the time to do it, I don't have, the resources, I don't have this, I don't have that. Make use of any little bits of time you have, and you'll be surprised what you can come up with in a day.
Kayla Evans says about the same thing. She has a 6-month-old, and she doesn't know how to find the time for it. But best thing she found for washing brushes is Women's 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, so when you're washing your brushes, use some shampoo. It's going to be gentle enough for your hair. It's gentle enough for your paintbrushes. Okay, so she has a 6-month-old. It's so hard when your babies are little. I had twins, so yeah. So the best time to make use of is nap time. So like when they're just playing in their playpen or their crib or on a mat on the floor, fold a few towels. Do what while you're keeping an eye on them. Do as much as you can that you need to get done, so that when you put them down for their naps, and at 6 months they'll usually take an hour or two nap. Then you can use that time to work on what you want to work on. I never napped when the baby napped. I know everybody said nap when the baby naps. I say, are you nuts? Do what you want to do when the baby naps, because you're not going to get that chance again. Prioritize people. And put them down. I used to put 3 for a nap. I had a 2-year-old and infant twins, and I would put them all for a nap at the same time, and I would just rush to get whatever I could get done. You may have to put your supplies together in kits. If your goal is to paint, a 30 by 10 foot mural while the baby's napping, that's not going to work. But if your goal is to scrapbook a couple pages, or organize your photos, or work on a cross stitch, you can totally do that. If you can keep all your supplies together in a little box that you can just take the lid off and work for a bit when you get the chance, that's going to make your process a lot better, and you're going to be able to get things done instead of spending the whole time the baby's napping just laying out your supplies. Get something you can get done in a 20-minute period of time, grab it out, work on that, then you could tuck it in a box and tend to the baby when she wakes up. Hope that helps.
Sounds good. Teddy Honeybee says, how can you use wax paper as a mask like spider web thing you mentioned?
Okay, last week, wax paper apparently is kind of hard to find outside of the United States. This is what it looks like. This is a brand, cut rate brand, but all the stores have their own brand. And it's this kind of translucent film. I know all of us Americans know what this is, but sometimes they call things different, have different names in other countries, so I just wanted to show you in case you're like, what the heck is she talking about? We don't have that here. Alright, so I made this card using the wax paper technique, and actually if you look on my YouTube channel, the video right before this is the video for this technique. And see, you get a very natural looking spider web, and all you do is you take a piece of wax paper, hold it onto a piece of watercolor paper or cardstock, I used watercolor paper, and just draw the web over with a pencil, just a regular pencil on the wax paper. And then when you paint over it, the wax will resist the paint. And I think you could probably do that with ink. If you didn't have watercolor paints, you could use your dye-based ink pads or whatever to give you that color. But that's that, and if you want more information, check out the video right before this one.
Okay.
Gosh, I'm talking fast. I gotta slow down.
Snoopy says, just to know, wax paper is fantastic for lubricating punches that start to stick. Just punch through the wax paper a few times and your punches will glide through your papers like new.
Oh, that's a great tip. And you can sharpen your punches by punching them through aluminum foil.
And Barb Pollitt, when you finish with your wax paper, and if it has any life left in it and not covered with paint, take it to your shower rod and rub it over a few times, and the metal rods in your closet, and they will slide like they were on melted butter. This is probably old news, but my daughter just taught me.
Oh, that's a great idea. I've never heard that before.
And Parent crumples up wax paper and then irons the wax paper onto cardstock. I use paper tray ink paper as it makes a very sturdy card base, and I gently build up my color over the wax paper with brown distress inks or other rich browns you like. The paper will take on a faux leather textured image, and then I use Copic markers to color a safari-themed tundra image and layered that on top.
Do you think that she leaves the wax paper on the paper, or she pulls it off after she irons it?
I don't know.
Because I'm wondering if the distress markers, if the distress pads would stick to the wax paper, or if it would just bead up.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah. I wonder if she takes it. If you're, who was that left that comment?
Barb Pollitt?
No, it was Ann. It was Ann
Parson.
Ann, let us know. Do you iron it, then remove it, so you're leaving some wax behind, or do you leave the wax paper on there? I'm just trying to visualize the distress ink pads, ink not beating up on that. I think she removes it, and then colors over it with the Copic. That's a great idea. That sounds like a lot of fun. All right, what's next?
Carol Moore loves your videos. Can you show us how to cut a mat for framing?
I have a video on that. If you, and here's a tip on searching my videos. There are millions of videos on YouTube, and it can be really hard to find. Like, if you know it's a video I put up there and you're looking for that specific video, if you go to my channel, if you click on my face, if you see like where it says The Frugal Crafter, you click on that word or my face, it'll take you to my channel. And then there's a little bar where it says videos, discussion about, and then there's a little magnifying glass. And I just learned this. It shows you how slow on the uptake I am. If you click on the magnifying glass, you can search that channel. So if you go there and you search how to cut a mat, or mat cutting, or mat, it'll bring up any of the videos that I refer to cutting a mat or matting something. And then you can kind of tell from the thumbnail what one you want, or by the title of the video, what video you're looking for. So if I say I've got a video on that, you can just go to my channel and you can click on the little magnifying glass and find that. Or under my videos, I have a link to my blog. If you just look under there and click on About, you can go over to my blog, and there's a search bar in my blog too. And sometimes it's easier to navigate there than on YouTube. So.
That particular one was on 5/2/13.
Oh, okay, thank you. The date 5/2/13 for cutting a mat.
And then a captain's wife says, love these. You're quite the entertainer. Can I have some of your energy, please? Thanks so much.
I don't know, should I send you some coffee? That seems to be the... Yeah, I don't know. I think that I'd happy to send you some. I think my energy comes from walking first thing in the morning, getting the sunshine, and the caffeine doesn't hurt, and also a vegetarian diet. Lorraine's a vegetarian too. Mm-hmm. See, we're energetic gals eating our veggies.
Self Music Art says, thank you very much for your videos. I've been inspired and did give it a try to the watercolor sky painting. My question is, what is the watercolor card paper you use in your videos? I have the one from Michaels. It says watercolor paper 140 something, but my paint did not flow as smoothly as yours, and after drying left it grainy, fuzzy look. Not as smooth as yours. Please help. Thank you again for your generosity of time and efforts with your videos. Greatly appreciated.
That sounds like cheap paper, actually. Like the kind you get at the, if you go in the grocery store and you walk down the stationery aisle, that sounds like what that is. It's just paper that doesn't have enough sizing in it, and it's made with short fibers, which are cheaper. So generally when they make paper, watercolor paper is, artist watercolor paper is made from cotton. Sometimes you'll have a synthetic mix, which will give a paper durability and keep it from warping, and will also keep your color to the top. Sometimes they do mix the cotton with paper, with wood pulp, to keep the cost down. But that sounds like it's probably a 100% wood pulp paper made from short fiber. So when they mix up the paper, the wood pulp to make the paper, there'll be long, strong fibers, and then there'll be these little short, bitty fibers. And the long, strong fibers go into the higher quality paper, and the little bitty fibers go into the cheap paper. And you don't have to spend a lot more money for high quality paper. Just look for a good brand name. Like I find Strathmore papers are pretty good. Canson is pretty good. And those are reasonably priced papers. My favorite would be Arches, but that's a lot more expensive. I luckily stocked up. Probably about 15 years ago, I bought reams of 22 by 30 inch Arches paper in the colors and the textures that I liked. And back then I could get it for about $2.25 a sheet. And now the cheapest I can find it is about $5 a sheet. And that's like my online wholesale catalogs. That's not even in the store. In the store it's going for about $9 a sheet. So I would, try Canson. All my little tutorials, I'm using Strathmore 140 pound watercolor cards. They have a package of 100 with the envelopes, and it's $25 at dickblick.com. That's Blick Art Materials, and I'll put a link to that as well. That's a really great set of cards to get you going, because you get They're about 5 by 7, so you get a 10 by 7 inch piece of paper that's scored in the middle. You can cut it up and do little paintings on it, make cards, send them away. It's great for practice. And if you want something bigger, I think I would try the Canson Montville watercolor paper because it's pretty inexpensive and it's a good quality. So yeah, you want to make sure your dollars count. Or go to the art supply store with a 40% off coupon and buy a pad of paper by like the Strathmore 400 series is really good. Use a coupon. It's a little bit more than the Strathmore 300 series, but it's a much better paper. Or Canson Montville. Use a coupon on that. Go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's or AC Moore and see what you can find. But get something with an actual brand. If it just says watercolor paper, be leery. Make sure it says, you know, and open it up and look at the texture. If it looks cheap and cheesy, skip it. Get something else. But I've been using Strathmore for these tutorials.
My Jammy B says, I love watching your videos. They're so full of energy and information. I have 3 questions and 1 request.
Oh boy!
The first question,
lay 'em on me.
You just answered the first question about the watercolor paper you recommend. The second question, what brush manufacturer would you suggest would be good for absolute beginners?
All right, that's an easy one. I recommend Royal Brush Company because they have high quality brushes and they're very inexpensive. Oh, I just noticed that the camera started a new file 6 minutes ago. I hope I didn't. Hope it didn't interrupt it. Whatever. Okay, so Royal Brush Company is what I'd recommend. This is one of their brushes. It's a Royal Aqualon. And Aqualon is Aqualon. And you can get sets of these at AC Moore and I think probably most of the larger craft stores. They have sets of rounds, sets of flats, and a variety. I would get the variety until you know what you're doing. You can also buy them open stock through catalogs or sometimes through the art supply stores. These go on sale for 40% off all the time, the packages. Generally, they're about $20 for a set, which is cheap for good brushes. And they have acrylic handles. And I love this because I leave my brushes in the water by mistake sometimes. And if you do that with a wood handle brush, they will split and crack. And I'll show you an example because I know I have one because I'm always leaving my brushes in the water. See, the paint has cracked off. And it's split, and I'm lucky. Well, no, my ferrule has come loose. Luckily, I only use this one for applying glue, but you don't want that to happen with your painting brushes. So if you get brushes with acrylic handles, that won't happen because the plastic is not going to be affected by being soaked in water. Also, they have these scraper edges, which are great for carving out details in your work. I use it a lot in the watercolor tutorials for details or to scrape away color or to scribe my paper so I have darker color. So Royal Brush Company, either the Aqualon brushes or the Majestic brushes. They're both excellent, and I don't think you're going to beat the price for that quality. About $20 a set. And if you use a coupon or you get them on sale, it'll be like $10 a set, so you can't go wrong. Oh, what was the next question?
Okay, when working with silhouette cutting machines, what font is good to use in cutting vinyl?
Okay, well, Jen's Creation Station also had commented on this about using it's a size you use more than the font you use. But I have found also that smoother fonts work a lot better. You don't want a font that's distressed and looks sketchy. You want a nice, smooth, dark. Like if it looks like there's like little bits eroded out of the font, like the Halloween fonts and stuff, that's not going to cut very well for vinyl. Just like it's not going to cut very well for paper. It's going to be snaggy and it's going to be it's gonna tear and not work very well. So you want smooth fonts. I found a lot of fonts at Lettering Delights are really good for this. You do pay $1 or $2 for them, but they cut really well. I'll put a link to Lettering Delights below the video as well. But any fonts you have that are nice and smooth and not distressed and not sketchy and not too decorative will work really good for die cutting with vinyl. I use an old Cricut machine which sure cuts a lot of software from cutting my fonts, and I think a Silhouette's probably even is much better at cutting than that old thing. But I think as long as you get a nice, smooth, clear, crisp font, you're going to be fine. Just avoid, if it looks distressed, avoid it.
Okay, and her request is, will you do a workshop on how to work with digital imaging stamps? Thanks for all your sharing.
Oh, great. Well, if you go to my channel and you search DigiStamp or digital stamp, you'll probably find some tutorials where I've colored digital stamps with alcohol markers because they don't run. I probably won't do a video tutorial on this because I don't know how to make my video show what my screen is showing. And I have a tutorial on my blog. If you go to my blog, link is under here, and you search in the search box Stamping for Dummies, you'll have a full blog post with screenshots of exactly how to size and print your digital stamps using the free program OpenOffice, or you can use Microsoft Word. So I probably won't do a video tutorial on that because I think it's easier to follow along on the step-by-step photo tutorial that's already on my blog. And then again, once you print them, you use them just like a regular stamp. So you could do anything you want, color it any way you'd like after you've printed it. Just if you're using ink, your watercolors or watercolor crayons may bleed your image. That's the only thing. It's just like, pretend you're stamping it with watercolor ink pad or with a water-based ink pad and you'll be all set.
Okay, Jen's Creation Station says, I keep hearing about Aileen's tack it over and over for making glue dots. This is a repositionable adhesive, so how does it work as a permanent glue for glue dots? I use this glue for rubber stamps, so I'm curious how something will stay on a card if you're using a non-permanent glue. Thanks.
'Cause it's magic. Hello. Once it's when you're painting it on the back of stamps, you're painting on a thin coat, and eventually it may lose its stickiness or it might come off onto your block or whatnot. But when you're making a glue dot, you're putting good sized drops of glue onto a piece of wax paper and letting it dry. Once you have two non-porous things or non-glossy, well, you know how like wax paper is waxy, you could stick something plastic to a scrapbook page or something and it will hold just fine. Once you have that bond of two non-waxy surfaces together, it's going to stick. I think it only stays repositionable really on the glossy surfaces like your mounting block or your wax paper when you're making the glue dots. Trust me, it sticks really well. I've been using it for years and it hasn't failed me yet. Magic, I tell you. Ooh.
Tiffany Hawley says, I have a question. A couple weeks ago I found a spiral bound book of 98-pound artist paper on sale at Walmart, so I snapped it up. The only problem is I didn't realize it was meant for an art journal, so it's not a tear out type paper. I know I could just cut it out, but I've been thinking I want to try an art journal. Only problem is all I have at the moment is watercolor, so I was wondering, will watercolors work with gesso to keep the pages sturdy? If so, what types do you recommend? Thank you.
Well, a 98-pound journal should be pretty heavy. The stock on it should be pretty heavy, so I don't think you need to gesso your pages unless that's something that you want the, I don't know, the texture or whatnot. I think you could always watercolor it and then grab an acrylic brush and paint your gesso into the watercolor and blend it in, because you can mix gesso and watercolor together. Watercolor may not stick on top of the gesso. It may be able to be reactivated. It will be able to be reactivated if you get it wet. What I think I would do is, if you're going to use watercolors on one side, maybe gesso the back side of the paper, and then you could mix, like get a separate palette and you can mix your watercolor and gesso together and color with that. You don't really need to gesso the paper. It's very popular right now, but there's no rule saying you have to do that. It's the watercolor is going to work fine with the paper you have. If you want to add gesso on top of it, like you could put a stencil down and gesso over the stencil on top of what you watercolored, that will give you sturdiness to the page and it will give you some textural interest. Or you could gesso the page and paint right onto it with the watercolor while it's still wet, and the gesso will lock in the color instead of the gesso kind of creating a barrier and making it come off. And when you get a few extra dollars, you could invest in a cheap set of acrylic paints. They have them at the craft stores. Is like a set of 12 for $8 or $10 or something. It's not the best stuff. It's fine for an art journal. So try any of those techniques. I think you'll be fine.
Boo to You 298 says, thank you so much for the anti-static pad. They're so expensive to buy here, 4 to 5 pounds plus. I will try baby powder. Is cornstarch the same as corn flour? So sorry for such a dim question. We just don't know for sure.
I'm pretty sure corn flour and cornstarch are the same thing.
I have no idea.
But you could also use talc or baby powder or any, really, it's just, you just need something powdery. And so the anti-static pouch, for those of you who don't know, it's also called an embossing buddy. Just take some cloth, put some baby powder or cornstarch in it, sew it up, or just take up the edges and put a rubber band around it. So you just have like a little pom-pom of powder, and then you just rub that on your cardstock before you stamp and emboss, and it will keep the stray pieces from floating away. If corn flour is really fine, it will work. So go ahead and give it a try. It'll be fine.
Queen Fun says, "Hi Lindsay, thank you for taking the time to spread your crafty knowledge. My question is, since Christmas is almost here, I was wondering if you had any ideas for personalized gifts for loved ones and also more generic items to sell. For sale."
Yeah, well, I do Christmas craft fairs, so my best-selling items are earrings, and I like to get the lampwork beads that are like holiday, like snowmen and Christmas trees and Santa faces and stuff like stockings. Those sell really well, and they're also nice gifts, but you don't have to feel like you're giving a really personal gift like that. That could be for a lady at the office or your sister, or, you know, it's just a nice all-around gift. Something else I just posted a tutorial for is these little gift card holders. Looks like a little bag, and you open it up, and inside you have a pocket for a gift card or theater tickets or movie tickets or photos or whatever you'd want to give away. That's a very easy tutorial, just posted the other day. Another thing I like to make is rice bag hand warmers and like neck warmers, and you just sew squares of cotton or flannel, fill them with rice, and you've got microwavable heat packs, or you can keep them in the freezer for cold packs. Great for sticking in your mittens, the small ones for sticking in your mittens. Jewelry. I think jewelry is a great gift and great to make for craft fairs for sale. Ornaments. I just did a video on a 3-dimensional star snowflake ornament. Those are great for sale and for gifts. Do you have any ideas, Lorraine?
No, none.
No, none. Come on. Put you right on the spot. Let me try to think. Yeah, try to think of anything else that I've for sale. Not gift cards, but Christmas cards, like in packs of 4 or 6, are really good. Like, find something that you can make pretty quickly and just make up a batch of them. People will buy those to send out. People don't send out Christmas cards like they used to, so usually a pack of 4 or 5 or 6 is ample, and people can always buy 2 packages if they need to. I think those are probably my best-selling. Oh, soap, handmade soap. Those are melt and pour soap is so easy. Buy it from a soap supplier. It'll be a lot cheaper than buying it from a craft supplier. I ordered soap bases from thechemistrystore.com, and it was very affordable. You got to pay shipping, so that's the only downside. You're not going to find a free shipping order, but the soap is like $2 a pound, so you're versus $10 a pound at the craft store. Yeah. There's some ideas for you.
Very good. Emma D says, "Hi Lindsay, so glad you're back with Eska Crafter. So glad to hear things with your husband are better. My question is, I'm doing some canvas painting for the Day of the Dead fair that is coming up. I've never sold this type of craft before, so my question is, how do you price something like canvas art? I've done all sizes, some mixed media. Most are just acrylic paintings of skulls."
All right, you've got a pretty niche market here. So I think to be safe, what I would do is I would add up your cost of materials and decide for yourself what you want to make an hour. Say it's $10 an hour to be conservative starting out. So it took you an hour to paint. Your materials were $5. Price it at $15. You price it at $20. You could go up a little higher just to see what the market will bear. It's probably going to be a very specific. Unless you're going to a Day of the Dead festival or something where it's really catering to that niche market, which you might be able to get a little bit higher of a price there, just try to get your supplies and your time out of it. Or if that doesn't appeal to you, you can always hang on to it and try to sell it at a boutique that kind of caters to that kind of more of a, I don't know, what would you say, eclectic?
Yeah, it's
or
very
multicultural niche. But to be safe, just try to get your materials and your time out of it for now. And then if you sell out, then you can put your prices higher next time.
This is a reaction to Lindsay's comment on distress paints. Patricia Walker.
Yep.
It's about distress paints. They're a different formula than regular acrylic paints and are meant to react with water in a similar manner to the distress inks. The paints are permanent once dry, though, and will not react to water after that. They're slightly thinner formula than acrylics and do not leave a raised texture behind once they are dry. They are pretty amazing, really. I've got Ranger regular acrylic daubers also, and they're quite different.
All right, I made a comment on the distress, for an alternative for a distress paint, just use regular acrylic paint because, I love Tim Holtz as much as everybody else, but I find a lot of the products just really aren't that different than their counterparts. Like the ink, it does some stuff that's different, but I wouldn't go out and buy a whole set of distress ink, you know, if I already had dye-based ink. I think his acrylic paints, which I haven't used them, the distress paints are probably more like acrylic ink. And or Flow Acrylics by Golden. So, you know, try them if you want to. I haven't tried them. I was just, you know, giving alternatives for that. Thank you, Patricia, for your comment. All right, we have one more reaction comment.
Dee Dee Paperworks. She says plain old Elmer's glue works pretty good at distressing acrylic paint. She has a video showing how to do it, super easy and super cheap.
Well, thank you, Dee Dee. We will put the link to that video down as well. I don't know if she mixed the paint with the glue or not, but hey, if it's going to save us some money, we'll definitely go check it out. If you have a question for Ask a Crafter, leave it under this video and just leave a comment and I will answer it next week. And I want to thank Lorraine for being here to read questions, even though she wouldn't go on camera. And yeah, it's been fun. It's a lot easier having a producer. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye-bye. I'm back. I forgot a question. This was emailed to me, and totally my fault because I wrote it down on paper and didn't give it to Lorraine to read to me. But Wandering Dreamer had emailed me a question at the beginning of the summer, right after I said I was putting the Ask a Crafter on hiatus for a few months. And she had a few questions. I'm going to paraphrase. She loves I can't say this word. Swarovski? Am I saying that right, Lorraine?
Oh, yeah. That's hard to say.
Is it Swarovski?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Swarovski crystals. Sparkly, sparkly. She's looking for a place to get them cheap or alternatives. Well, the cheapest place to find them would be eBay. You can get like packages of 600 for a couple bucks. It's cheap and a lot of places have free shipping. These are coming from China. I've ordered bead cores from China. I haven't had any issues with customs or tariffs or anything like that, but you may want to, I mean, you can always check. Usually the seller would know, you know, they ship to the United States for free. They, you know, they handle that stuff. If you're looking for an alternative, sometimes you can find like the Czech fire polish beads are cheaper, but they don't have that sparkle because they're not cut like the Swarovskis. Those are cut rather than pressed in a mold, so that's why you get that sparkle. I think I'd try eBay if you need like a large amount, or maybe even go in with some friends and buy all the colors you need and divide it up. Fire Mountain Gems is always a great place to check first before you order to see if they have it, so you don't have to order from overseas if you don't want to, because you do have to wait. You've got a couple weeks shipping time for those. So that would be my advice. Or sometimes if you're doing like a big chunky necklace or something where you need big beads, I would mix acrylic in with your glass because you'll get all that sparkle, you'll reduce the weight, and you'll reduce the cost. So if you're doing a large beaded earring or necklace, something that you don't want to be too heavy, mix in the acrylic beads. Okay, at this time, when she wrote this comment, it was almost time for CHA Summer. That's a Craft and Hobby Association summer show, and she wanted to know what items I was excited about and what I would purchase and what I have purchased, like for Halloween and whatnot. Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't find anything all that exciting about Summer CHA, just from what I saw on videos and whatnot. I thought those punch boards from We Are Memory Keepers, they were probably the hottest thing, but I tried one at a stamp show and I wasn't that impressed. And I'm not really one to keep up on trends, and this just kind of shows that I've forgotten about it already. Whatever came out, I've already forgotten about it. So that goes to show you what my opinion on the whole summer release was. Sorry, I don't have anything insightful there. Oh, do you live near any rubber stamp stores, or do you mostly shop online? I mostly shop online, and oh, you know what? I think there was another question that I probably forgot, because I don't remember answering this. Somebody had asked me, and I apologize, I don't remember who, and I probably didn't copy it over, because somebody asked where the best deal for crafting supplies are. Okay, so I'm going to roll this into this question. I find that we have three stores. We just got Hobby Lobby. I've been there once. We have AC Moore and Joann's in the nearby town, and I typically will go to AC Moore or Joann's, but I find that I shop online at Joann's more often because they have the variety, but they run the same sales, where AC Moore will have the sales in the store, but I think they're working on getting it online, but I don't think they have it online yet, so you have to go in for the sales. But I find I get tired of their selection very quickly in those stores. They never seem to be up with the newest stuff or have the variety of items I'm looking for, so I shop Joann's.com when they're running their big sales, like 50% off, and I'll get my re-inkers and stamp pads and things that I'm out of at that point. And they run a 50% off stamping and scrapbooking probably twice a year, so that's a good place to shop. Also, I like more unique items, like for rubber stamping, so I tend to shop the little stores. I'm luckily on the design teams of my favorite stamp companies, Pink Persimmon, About Art Accents, and Lost Coast Designs, so I get a lot of those stamps as part of my design team benefits. But yeah, I find that we don't have any locally owned stamp stores, so I don't feel that bad about shopping online. You know, if we had a local stamp store, I'd be there every day, but we don't, so mostly online. And what is sari fabrics? Can they be used with ribbon clasps? I have no idea. Lorraine, can you look that up for me? She's still here. I'm going to put her to work. I'm thinking it might be like sari, like the saris, like the Indian women wear, maybe.
Oh, so is that how you spell it?
S-A-R-I? Yeah. Oh. Let's go to the internet, shall we? Let's go to the Google. There we go.
S-A-R-Y?
S-A-R-I, I think. S-A-R-I. So she spelled it in the question. Ribbon clasps will generally work with any sort of fabric as long as it's not too frayish or too thin. You might need to double it up with something, like if you had an organza, something really sheer, you might want to like put a velvet behind it or something so it can grab into that fabric and lock it without tearing it. If you want to find my video on how to attach a ribbon clasp, you'll find that if you go to my YouTube channel, click on the magic magnifying glass and type in ribbon clamp or ribbon crimp or ribbon ends or ribbon clasp, something like that, and you will eventually find that video, hopefully on your first try. Are we finding anything here?
Just all different kinds of fabric, the sari.
Yeah.
Just,
you know what? I bet you if it's a ribbon, I bet you can use it. If it's really sheer, just add something else with it. Maybe clip on just a little scrap of ribbon, or maybe even just fold a little bit of ribbon over it so you can clamp it down without tearing your fabric. But if it's a substantial fabric, it should be just fine. Okay, that does it for real, for good, I promise. And I hope you enjoyed this little added bonus. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.